I think you will be really happy that you did, even if you didn't give up a beautiful Saturday to do it. We have a special friend coming today, Dale Graff, who, God, we go back a ways.
Yeah, I sure do.
He's going to speak on time exploration, perceiving future news, photographs and other excursions into precognition and synchronicity. So he's going to be covering a lot of interesting topics here. Dale is actually a retired aerospace engineer and a physicist who has a background in the aerospace future systems designs and the Gemini space program. And this was followed by his work for the military intelligence community, exploring the viability of remote perception. So I know a number of people have asked me over time, is anything still going on with remote viewing in the military? And my answer is, I have no idea, but Dale maybe could answer that. You don't have any idea either. If you ask them, they say, if I tell you, we'll have to kill you. So anyway, please welcome Dale Graff, and thank you again.
Okay, fine. Brenda, thank you very much. Yeah, you're right. We do go way back. I can remember it was like 1980. You and I came out to visit. Your lab was just after it started. And it was a great idea, and I wanted to remain involved in some way. And I have over the years, through business and whatever.
Well, we bump into each other every now and then, here and there.
Oh, yes.
And it's always a treat.
And I'm going back far away from Bristol, just about 110 miles from Pennsylvania. Then the other time that was coming, you may not remember this, and maybe you don't want to remember it. When you and Dean John gave a book reading presentation in Washington, D.C., about 1987, I was living in the area at the time, of course. I lived in Washington for about 20 years. So I was in the back room, and we did the talk. And as the dean was explaining the book cover, I came to realize from what he said that this was his painting. This was a painting that Dean John made.
He actually drew that for me as a birthday present.
Oh, that's great.
And when he gave it to me, the name on the picture was Reality.
Oh, that's interesting you said that, because that leads me to my next line. I was in the back of the room, and I made a quip, which I don't think you appreciated. I said, well, it looks like this was Dean John's first and last brush with reality. Little fun there. Okay, well, thank you again. And I really had a lot of interesting times visiting here and to the other parapsychology labs around the country, as well as being involved with the remote viewing program with the government. Ultimately, I became one of the directors for the meeting of remote viewers. So, but today I want to really stay on one theme, and that's time and the future. Now, and also related to that, precognitive experiences. Now, we all have precognitive experiences, all of them. We may not remember them all, but there are those hunches and those intuition and those feelings that we have, and you think, or how did I anticipate that phone call? Or whatever the incident was. We all have these incidents in our lives. And sometimes even the most severe skeptic of the field will have them admit to it and then later on and say, well, that never happened. But in reality, it did happen. It's a matter of denial. Subliminal perceptions are important too, because sometimes they can be misleading. We have a lot of information we pull into our senses subliminally, and sometimes it comes out, and it might look like a precognition, and it wasn't. We just pulled together all that information, and it looks like something we need to in the future, when it's something we just assembled subconsciously. Synchronicity is one of my favorite topics, and I have more to say about that as I go through the talk. Of course, precognitions can occur almost anywhere, anytime. Awake images, in the remote viewing world and the remote perception world, that's kind of how we do it. There's a relaxed, awake state that we seek with future information coming in. Deja vu, that's, going back term, the memory, is it a memory? I saw it before, last night, whatever, but it's still there as in the subconscious mind, maybe from a dream. Now, dreams are actually my favorite topic, and I've been involved in the study of dreams, or the experiencing of dreams, ever since I can remember as a child. I started off very young remembering dreams. That was just part of my mental situation when I was really quite young. I learned years later that I was born very premature, and I learned years later that premature children have about double the amount of REM, rapid eye movement, where you're really seeing images in dreams in babies that are born on normal term. So I was off to a running start with dream recall, including precognitive dreams as a child, although I didn't have a label for that at the time. Well, I didn't really pay a lot of attention after I got to elementary school, grade school, all this kind of shit slipped into the background of my experience. Well, ultimately, I did become interested in dreams, again, through vivid experiences that happened when I was around the age 34, 35, when people tend to have experiences like this. So I shifted my interest in Psi, the generic term for parapsychological phenomena, ESP, viewing, clairvoyance, telepathy, precognition. And I like to think of the different perceptual modes in which we can experience this phenomenon in the conscious state, so we don't have to get too concerned about what label are we using for it. Is it remote viewing, is it clairvoyance? I actually like the way Brenda defined it many years ago, remote perception. And in fact, when you and I talked, and you and John, that was a term that I wanted to use in the government's remote viewing program. But we were really entrenched in the term remote viewing, so I couldn't change it to remote perception. It's just kind of too late, but I like it because the phenomenon is more than vision, it's more than what you see, like you point out in your books. And of course, dream state Psi and synchronicity are where I see the phenomenon coming into reality that we all experience. Underneath all this, I prefer and I'm very interested in studying the processes. How does the phenomenon really work? What is going on? How is information accessed, transferred? How do we pursue it? How do we understand it? I mean, these are really major questions that parapsychologists should be more giving more attention to, other than just pure statistics. They like to talk about the results in terms of p-values or effect sizes. You get into the report and you really can't tell what was going on at the basic data level of the perception. So this is where I really shifted my attention. What insight can we get from Psi data, whether it be remote viewing, dreams, intuition, or whatever? What can we tell by looking at the data? And to help the issue narrow down possibilities, I like to work with pictures. I happen to have a liking for artwork, and this is such a wonderful environment. I hope I don't get distracted and start looking at the art as I'm standing. I like to work with art, and artwork was a great source of Psi targets way back in the 70s at the Maimonides Medical Center in New York, and Stan Krippner and Monty Allman set up that program there, in looking at what they call dream telepathy. So, big question. What or where is the information? What is time? What is the future? So all these come together. We think we have words for this, but do we? Now, if you go to the dictionary and look under the definition of the future, it's all very simple. Events yet to happen. And if you look under the definition of time in the Oxford Dictionary, it's a whole page, a page and a half. So the only thing I can conclude is that the editor on that day just had a lot of time in his hands. So my own work then, since I like to think of myself as having begun a serious systematic investigation of dreams back in 1970 when I began keeping a dream journal. And I really was serious about this. I paid attention to dreams. Once I learned that we all have them, whether we remember them or not, maybe 20, 30 minutes worth a night or more, I started remembering them, having no problem developing details in the dream journal. And it didn't take long before precognitive dreams popped in there too. I dream about somebody from the office, for example, and all of a sudden is in a hospital when my wife is a head nurse, and she tells me in the dream, hey, your friend's going to be in the hospital. I said, no, he can't be. He looks in good health. But a week later, there he is. And she comes home and tells me, oh, your friend just came to the hospital today. I'm taking care of him. So this is the kinds of things that happen then when you keep track of your spontaneous dreams. I have been a participant in a number of projects at the Ryan Research Center, projects that the International Association for the Study of Dreams sets up, those that are facilitated by the International Remote Viewing Association, of which I am one of the directors. I'm also involved in some applied precognition projects, an online thing, an activity that's ongoing right now. So I keep my hands in very actively. When I left the government, I made a vow. I will never get involved in management again. So, no more management. I want to get involved in the phenomenon. I want to see and experience the data firsthand, like I did as a child. And synchronicities can happen. One example, just to give you a flavor of dreams, and what my colleagues in the International Association for the Study of Dreams do. And dreams are like mind movies. Wow, everything's right there. You know, fast moving, just like a production, like a TV movie. Well, in fact, that's the idea behind movies anyway. It's a modeling dream, how dreams form. So it's just an illustration. And I like to draw and sketch, and this is based on my experience with the remote viewing work, where we found that the remote viewer in the laboratory, if he just focuses on the sketch and not so much on the interpretation, forget the words, at least initially, look at the sketch, compare picture to picture, it makes sense, doesn't it? If I'm going to try to describe a picture, I'm going to look at what I draw. In this case, there's three phases. There's a group of people, there's somebody standing in the middle that's standing up in the big nose area, or the big nose in his face, and somebody off to the side was really acting kind of dumb. So that didn't make a lot of sense, but this was the target picture, selected randomly, 3 days ahead from a target pool of 100 pictures. So there's no way this could have been guessed. There were 40 or 50 of us in this particular experiment, and about a third of them, about almost a half of us, had a very good rendering of this future picture. By the way, the character in the extreme end there is Simeon Edwards. He just worked himself into that photo and started acting kind of crazy, so there he is. Now, the work that we did recently, this spanned about a year and a half. It was a very intensive project facilitated by Deborah Katz and Nancy Smith. And I, Michelle, myself, and one or two others were involved, but they dropped out early on. But it had to do with, can dreams be used to forecast or predict future outcomes in sporting events? And we spent a year and a half looking at that question. James Lane, his name is at the bottom, is our statistician from Duke University that helped us out throughout all this. Now, throughout this whole process, we were using a technique known, I like to call it target linking protocol. My colleagues in the remote viewing world will call it associative remote viewing. And the way that works is, event B is in the future, you want to dream about it now. But event B is linked to event A. So if you link them and you dream about B, you know event A must happen. So event A, I'm referring to here in our talk, in our paper, was the result of a sporting event based on over-under. If you go to the sporting page and read the numbers, whether it's football or baseball, there's a betting column, over-under, OU. So that was what we used to sort of to triangulate the future pictures. So if we get a picture that's correlated with under, and that's what we dream about, we can be almost certain before the event happens that that's where the result is going to be, over or under. And it's a binary thing, so that makes it a lot easier to deal with statistically later on. It's a very popular approach. It's used in the real world these days. Now, there are some drawbacks to it. Sometimes you get caught up in the target pool. There's only 2 of them. But the work we did, we were at least 69 to 70% hit rate, and we did achieve a statistically significant result. And that was just published in the Society for Psychical Research, the latest publication right off the press. And the JSPR is the Society for Psychical Research, is one of the oldest organizations that studies psi phenomena that exists. Established 1882. It's a very credible organization. To become published in that was really a great achievement. We're happy with that. Thanks for the work by Deborah and Nancy, who really spent a lot of time organizing and managing it. A couple of examples from that run, which were 50 projects, 50 different pictures, and 50 different sporting outcomes. This was a picture that came up, and this was a result that I had. And sometimes when the picture is complex, if you're hoping to have a dream, and the way the protocol that I used works was, it goes like this. Tonight I desire to dream about the picture that correlates with the outcome. Just brief, to the point, whatever. Just one dream is all I'm going to know. But sometimes 2 dreams occur, so I combine them together. The one dream shows somebody in a boat, standing at the end of the boat. Another one shows someone standing at the other end of something that looks like a boat. And if you look at the pictures, and look in the background, again, this illustrates how you can misinterpret information in psi space, in how the process works. You don't know if that's a building or a boat, but it's presented as a boat. So there's an interpretation process that happened along the way. Now, in this case, a lot of details came out. You just look at that detail in the body and it correlates to that flow. So it's a very detailed dream. Of course, there's no question that this correlated with that picture, so the outcome was assured it's going to be up, and it was. The outcome is over or up. This one illustrates some issues that you can run into when you do this kind of work. Not everything is going to end up looking really great. In this case, it's tilted Seaford, which actually exists off the coast of England. The perception in the dream was of a building cut in half, and if you look at the reflected light on the one side, it's hard to tell where the sky ends and where the building begins. There's a confusing boundary, and the confused subconscious processing that goes on that translates this image into a dream image. Although there were some very distinct shapes that did come through. This is the last one I'm using for that series, and had a very unusual result. It was a tunnel. That's what it was. It didn't show the curls, but it did show the brown. So color, many times, is very good, a very good discriminant in this work. If you get the color, you may not have the shapes right, but the color is going to usually be highly reliable. And I thought this color was more like a putty, kind of sticky color. And of course, you can see it's not a very clear picture. And it does give the impression of putty-like paint. Now, something unusual happened here. And I see this happening a lot with these projects. Sometimes situations occur during the session, whether it's in the wake state or dream, and after. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you learn, oh, that was kind of related to the picture. Well, the picture does something subconsciously that you can't really understand at the time, and nothing to do with the picture. In this case, the dream in a tunnel, I walked to the end of the tunnel. So I'm going through a tunnel, open up a door, and step out into the most fantastic scene I remember recalling. It was beautiful. Now, I had the feeling I shouldn't be here, and I found a way to get out of there. So I'm wondering if this accidentally brought me into the kind of thing that near-death experience is talking about, like going through a tunnel and then seeing the beauty on the other side. Only in this case, it induced artificially through a tunnel, a real tunnel in a picture. I don't know what to make of it. Well, other ways of looking at what can you do with the phenomenon, I got involved in a very brief project with the Rhine Research Center in Durham. They had a 12-week program or series of projects for investigating can remote viewers forecast the way a certain stock is going to go in 5 days. Okay, I hadn't worked one of those, so I got involved in that as a data producer from the Dream side. Only for me, I couldn't work on the weekend, so I just moved myself earlier. So for me, I did it 7 days ahead. The others in the project did it 5 days ahead. Doesn't matter, you're still in the future. You're still looking at that one end goal. What's the stock level going to be at a specific stock at a certain time, 5 or 7 days from now? And I did not want to know anything at all about the guts of the program. I don't even know what they're doing. Are they investing or not? What the stocks are. I want to be out of that. I'm just looking at the data. I was happy to be involved because it gave me a chance to look at pictures from that particular protocol that John Cruz at the Rhine Research Center had set up. So I really can't tell you now how the experiment worked out because I never really know. But I can show you a couple of things that came out of my own independent work. The first picture that came up, based on the result of the stock level 7 days in the future, was this waterfall. And a beam occurred when I focused on what is that future picture going to be when I received the feedback on it 7 days from now. So there are two dreams, one with these white things hanging down. I thought it was stalactites. Again, I did not understand what I was seeing. It was the subconscious association from memory, because I at one time lived in Tennessee and did a lot of cave exploring and remember seeing all these stalactites and all that. So that was in my memory, so I associated the waterfalls in the cave like ambient to a cave. So if the evaluation had been based on naming it, I would have been totally wrong, failure. But if you look at what I drew, the judges had no trouble saying it had to be that picture. Another dream came in that presented the rocks on the hill, on the cliff behind us. So that's the kind of detail that came up in these pictures as we were working through that project. Then, what happened? The next day after that session, and I sent in my data, I felt the urge to go on a hike, and I lived near the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania, over near West Valentine. So I'm hiking along, and it had rained, and I took a trail I hadn't been on before, and I saw this waterfall. There's a mountain stream cascading over the rock. I took a photo, and as I took the photo, I realized this is the picture I saw. This is it. Absolutely certain. So here I am in a kind of a synchronistic situation, being drawn to a picture. I still don't know what ground truth is. That's 6 days out, 5 days ahead, 6 days ahead. So I took a photo. Here is another way in which I affirm to myself, I guess, that this is the target. I took a photo of it before and so. Well, then a few years ago, that is an idea. Most of the parapsychological work is, in fact, all of it that I know that deals with precognition has an existing target pool or a target reference. That's defined in advance. That's the way the protocol reads. So I wanted to do something that eliminated that little nasty problem of target pool. I didn't want to take the time to create one in the first place. That's a lot of work. And secondly, I wanted to get out of the criticism that, well, all you're doing is invading the target pool, and this is where the so-called super psi hypothesis comes in that many critics use. They say, well, you accessed the picture now, and you used your PK ability to influence the random number generator that then led to the selection of the correct target. It's very convoluted, but many people really hold on to that because they refuse to accept the possibility of precognition. So, if the photographs do not exist at the time of the psi session, they sort of simulate spontaneous precognitions, which is a benefit of it in the first place. Then people say, well, it's a spontaneous we're good at studying spontaneous precognition, and say it's a lot of good. But here we can simulate them, and the target boat doesn't exist until after it's collected. So the way, I wasn't the only one that started on this. Way back in 1927, John Dunn, a British aerospace engineer, wrote this very interesting book called An Experiment with Time, published in 1927. Now, John Dunn, an aeronautical engineer, maybe that's another reason why I became attracted to his work. We were bosom buddies in some sense. He had precognitive dreams about events that he would read about in the newspaper the next day. And he would document it and told people about it, and there was a fire in Paris, and it was exactly what he saw in the dream, and it was in the headlines. Or the big eruption on Paley in 1888, I forgot the year now. He had that one too, in the headlines. But when I went back into the book and really studied it, the incidents already had happened, he just didn't know about it yet, because the paper is supposed to be published in those days. So what we did was move ahead, get out of that issue. And fortunately, the Reading Eagle newspaper, in Reading, Pennsylvania, had a very nice way of doing this. It was really unintentional, but I took advantage of it. Every issue, they had a little section called Around the World that had nothing to do with running politics, who was shouting at who that day, what he was fighting against who. It was totally different kinds of pictures in this Around the World section on a very specific page, A6. So why not use that page number and that section as the target for the photos that we are to dream about? Okay, so we did it. Now, I contacted a colleague in Orlando, and this is one of the ones that he came up with early on in the project. This photo appears 3 days later. She did two modes here. She worked in both the conscious state and the dream state, and in her thinking, remote viewing style, it didn't have any imagery, just thoughts. The female, dark hair, wearing purple gown, had the crimson purple headdress. In the dreams that she went to that night, the image was presented a lot clearer. Now a girl walks up to her, so to speak, in the dream, wearing a very specific purple outfit, and she drew that. So here we have a case where this picture didn't exist when we did this. However, the intention was there for the photographer to probably scheduled 3 days ahead. The schoolgirls in Iran who were attending this court session probably knew about it. So the intention and the expectation existed at the time of our dream. Okay, it's interesting. Is that really precognitive, the way I was looking at precognition? Well, I look at this one 3 days before the photo is published. It's a bus crash in India, and the pictures in this sequence with this newspaper, the photos, the editor receives a stack of about 100 pictures, and he goes through real quickly and he chooses one that's unique. The photos, the Associated Press photos, always 1 day before it's published. So here now we have a case 3 days before it's published and 2 days before the accident happens. So now neither the accident or the photo existed. There's not even an intention because it's an accident. 21 people were killed, 27 people seriously injured. And it looks like the imagery was correlated fairly well. River down below, cylindrical shapes, and another dream of how a crowd of people with a woman in a red dress and standing in front. So this is 2 days before the event, and nobody's noticed this is going to happen. The people in the crowd have no idea they're going to be on that hillside looking at this crash scene 2 days later, but here it is in the paper. So the event happens. Now, here's another kind of event where nature did it. Here's an ice bridge in Argentina that collapsed 2 days before the sketch was made, and that's all it was, just a picture of ice in the wall. And so the scene was dictated by nature. And we had others where it was a wind-caused accident that was perceived 2 days before it happened. In this particular picture, the perception was of an animal, but there's no animal in there, but a rock there at the bottom. And again, it illustrates how we can misinterpret things and turn something that's not living into something that is. And I think that indicates how the process goes through the enigma, which translates imagery that comes into the brain, should be run or fired or stay put, that kind of thing, before it gets into the cognitive processes. This work I published ultimately in the Quantum Recognition Conference of the American Institute of Physics. I presented this at a quantum physics conference in San Diego, and ultimately got into this nice publication. And our article was Perceiving the Future and its Evidence for Vector Causation. Now, vector causation. That was the theme of the conference, and it's based on the idea that in quantum physics there are advanced wave potentials out there. They're just potential, and that these are somehow perceived on the brain. And that's where precognition can come. So our take on this was vector causation. Yes, it looks like there's something about that concept that's real. The visual content of the future news photographs interacted with the brain's cognitive processes in a vector causal sense. In other words, something affected our brains, and we had the imagery in our brains, and we trapped it out, or we had a remote viewing session that led to that picture in our series. We're not to say the Psi process locates the future information and facilitates a time reverse transfer. Okay, now I've been thinking about this one for some time now. The Psi process locates. Okay, is it the process that locates information, or is it us that locate it when we intersect with the future and close the loop with the future? So which came first, the process or you and I going into our own future to react with the future and send that information somehow backward to us in time? However you look at it, something got reversed here. Something went backwards from a perceived future that ended up being a reality. Going on. An active subconscious interaction between the future and the present. I'm going to change that too. Between the future and the present is, not maybe, it is an ongoing feature of the mental and physical universe. It resembles holographic and adaptive pattern recognition processes or correlations involving basic elements of visual construction and memory. There's something very fundamental when you look at the raw data and you look at it, how did it get into the brain, how do you see it, how do you remove this for that picture. It should tell us something about the process that's going on inside of our brain when we're having the perception, whether it's awake or dream. Okay, now, after that was done, we said, okay, let's up the ante. Let's jump out into the future 7 days. So now the objective for our projects were to describe the photographs that will be published 7 days in the future. Of course, as I've been saying, the events and the photographs do not exist at the time of this last assessment. Big point. I've given essence of this talk to a number of people, and they don't seem to understand what to say or grasp. The events don't exist. There's the target pool is non-existent until we assemble it later and look at it. Well, after not doing anything for half a year, we finally go back and try. And this is one of the first photos. This is 7 days in the future. A sketch. Now this is a very interesting photo because it was presented from the point of view of a projection. It starts off with a movie projector projecting on the wall an image. In the dream, I'm looking at the movie on the wall. And remember I said earlier, dreams are like mind movies, and I frequently have just nice movies. And some of my artist friends draw art from them. And some of my musicians here, friends hear music and write it when they hear it. Anyway, this one projects this image. I'm looking at the image on the wall. Now the dream goes lucid. Now, some of you may know about lucid dreaming when you become aware that you are in a dream. I'm dreaming, I'm dreaming now, what's going to happen? What should I do, if anything? So in a dream, this figure steps out of the wall and walks toward me. Now, if I hadn't been doing an experiment, I would have been frightened, but I knew I was doing an experiment. This is not an ugly figure. It's probably ugly, but it's somewhat in the picture that we'll be seeing 7 days from now, and it was. But the key thing out of all this is the symbol of projection. Something is being projected. Here's one which has caused me a lot of concern when I think about it. This was the sketch. And 7 days later, it's a picture of these migrants crossing the river between Mexico and Guatemala. So I thought about this. So how much of that future that's dimly conceived in this dream 7 days ahead, how much of that is really there in wherever this future is? Is the mosquito there that's on the guy's chest? Is the water swirling there? Is that a fish there? Where do you draw the line between what's going to be in the future? Here's the picture. What else could be there? Out to the side. So it raises to me a really serious question about the future. Just exactly what and where is it and how much detail can we really get out of it? This was another one which had a very different twist to it. There was words. Normally I don't pay attention to words, but this was very clear about a nuclear demonstration, and there's a protest going on. Now it turns out the words that are in the card there, or the box, are in Korean, and I can't read Korean. So somehow or another the translation occurred. It was the correct thing. It was a demonstration that the Buddhists had against nuclear energy in South Korea. The last one from that series, to show how complicated this can be sometimes. This is the picture. It's a very interesting picture, but it's one I would never put into anybody's target pool. It's too complex. Only you can interpret it in 100 different ways. And I ended up thinking it was a bird that's in the caught. Even though it was a dog. And there's funny markings on the left. Looks like that's the tattoo marking. So it shows again how much detail you can get under these perceptions. Well, then we had a problem. The newspaper altered its strategy. Well, I shouldn't say that. The newspaper went bankrupt. The Red Eagle in Pennsylvania went bankrupt. They sold to another company. They now stripped everything down to the flashy newsletter style print that you find in the national media. So we couldn't use our reliable around the world section anymore. So then we shifted. The objective described any significant future. Well, then we started having things like this. The volcano, 7 days before, the first time the photo appeared in the paper about that. So, okay. So we had those. Then, on February the 18th, took another really serious look at this thing. And in my case, I was getting a little frustrated with the newspaper. I said, this is the one time, I don't care what it is. I'm just going to go to that day, 6 days in the future, whatever the event is, but it's got to be significant. Really significant, as non-political, and nobody's shooting one another up, but still significant. The answer might have been nothing would have happened, but that's not what happened. I see a low-flying airplane. Now this is like a 20-second or 10-second video clip in my dream line. Airplane flies along. It's a jet. It turns straight down, crashes into shallow water. It's flash, no explosion. It resembled a Boeing 737. That was my interpretation later, but also knew somehow there was a cargo plane and 2 or 3 people on board. This is a sketch I made. Straight down into shallow water near an airport. Okay, now comes the problem when you do these kinds of things. There's a lot of anxiety here. You don't want to be wrong, and on the other hand, you don't want to be right either. It's a crash, people die. You don't want to have that kind of stuff happen, but you know, that's what's in the future that we can perceive, whether we want to or not. Okay, 6 days later, Boeing 767 crashed in Trinidad Bay, Houston, under the same circumstance, flying low toward George W. Bush International Airport and straight down into the bay and right into the mud. The water is not very deep there. To this day, I have not seen any analysis of why that airplane crashed. Okay, now the next week we did this. I asked my colleague in Florida, well, you try it. what is going to be significant 7 days in the future that you can perceive? Well, she had this sketch on the bottom. It's not an airplane, but it's the crash site. So that's what she saw in the paper. The airplane picture wasn't published on that day. It was the next day. So here now we have a case where her perception of the future got the crash site, because even though the vehicle was amplified, you can see there's a truck-like vehicle in the background. There was just a lot of debris, she said. But it matched the description that was in the paper. So had we known beforehand that picture correlated with an upcoming crash, we might have been able to do something about that. It's like one of those associative projects I mentioned earlier. There was a woman in Toronto, Canada, that didn't want to get on this plane, but her parents insisted she get on, and later on they said, well, we should have listened to her. She was the intuitive in the family. There are people, I'm sure, that had these impressions that didn't get on the plane, but we don't hear them. Oh, that fire came up too. But if you can't really do much from a scientific point of view with these, the critic will say, well, fires haven't happened. Yeah, but this is very specific right to the day. Just didn't know where it was. Okay, now I want to talk about synchronicity. Okay, there's so much out there on synchronicity if you're looking at it, which I mentioned earlier, my favorite. I love to think of synchronicity stories. Arthur Costa is one of my favorites, and of course, for those of you familiar with the field, you know that he established the Costa Chair of Parapsychology at the University of Edinburgh back in the 1980s. Richard Coincidence is a nice summary. I've worked on synchronicity by earlier researchers, Cameron, and of course Carl Jung, and he has a number of his own theories in there. Wolfgang Pauli, a physicist, with the exclusion principle, really had a big figure on synchronicity. He lived synchronicity in his life. He's an incredible guy. In fact, there's stories about Wolfgang Pauli that his colleagues that he was visiting in some laboratory somewhere, they knew when he was coming, even though that he hadn't given them advance notice, because the equipment in the lab started failing. There's that kind of person. So, okay. Now, if you really want to get into the synchronicity and see some really hard-murdering stories, Lavon Stifler wrote her PhD thesis on how adoptees and birth parents get reunited after being separated for 20, 30, 40 years. Some of these are really, really powerful stories. How do these people find themselves? One woman started taking sign language home. No reason. Nobody in the family was deaf, but she wanted to learn sign language. Okay, then a couple of years later, when she's reunited with her birth mother, the mother's death. So as if I call these backwards synchronicities. You did something now, which you find out later was valuable, not just simply at the time. And Trish and Rob McGregor have interesting stories. We know about them. They've written a number of books on synchronicity, more from the popular press point of view. We also can thank them for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull movies. Now, the reason they really got into the movie business in the first place, they were on an airplane and they were talking about their manuscript that they were then trying to complete, what to do with it, should we finish it or not. They were getting discouraged. The guy next to him overheard them and turned out to be a movie producer. And that led to the whole series. So, see coincidences. I've had some of those. Trying to find somebody years ago to help out in a technical review I was setting up. Couldn't get hold of him. And so I'm on an airplane between Washington and Huntsville, Alabama. And who's right next to me is a very guy I'm trying to find. Another really good source if you're interested in heart-wrenching synchronicity stories and as well as other related topics, precognition. As Buddy McEnany's book, Messages 9 and 11 related, this is really some really interesting stories in there of people that did something they should not have done, that then matched with the upcoming disaster. I had a chance to talk with an individual that actually did not go to the Trade Center that day. And why didn't he go? I don't know. Felt like going home. Well, that book led to an invitation by ABC to produce 2020. And they were going to call it a precognition. This is a scene from the studio. I was invited there to give a brief talk on precognitive dreaming from a scientific point of view. So I had just a few minutes of dialogue, but that wasn't the key thing. It was their stories that were really powerful. This was, in my view, going to be a blockbuster TV program, really powerful. And this is a scene from the review of it, and it was great. It was a great interview. It was wonderful. It was inspirational, powerful. Well, the editor was candid. They said, this don't want to go too much. It brought out too many issues they did not want to confront with, including the survival issue. Beautiful program, but there lies in the can somewhere. In my own work, I keep journal records, computer files, and looking at the time. I can't see the clock. You on time yet? Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm going to now sort of wind down with some synchronicities in my own life that I just don't know what to do with. They're just the kind of things you can't tell people about. They won't believe you, and sometimes I don't even believe them myself. I write them out and look at them later, and I see other people's synchronicities. Yeah, okay. Harrisonburg, Virginia. Some years ago, I was invited to give a presentation on precognitive dreaming and synchronicity to the Rand Research Center. So, on my 500-mile drive from Hamburg, Pennsylvania, where I live, to Rome, back to Durham, North Carolina, one of the things I like to do before I go on any trip is seek a dream precognitively, of course, of anything that I should really need to know on the trip ahead. It could be something just interesting. It doesn't have to be a nasty thing. Just something that I can tell the class about when I get down there. We can laugh at it. Okay, so I did that. And normally the dreams are kind of interesting, but nothing super spectacular. But on this particular incident, this time I wake up at 4 a.m. to a very horrific dream. And it's not very pleasant. And in it, I am actually driving along, and I look over and I see a truck at an angle, and it has the front end smashed in, it's charred, and there's a car in front of it that's all crumbled and burning, and the feeling the person is trapped in there, and there's no way the person can get out. Not pleasant to see somebody in a car burning and can't get out, even in a dream. It's a tough scene. Okay, so, wow. So at 9 o'clock, I'm at Strasburg, Virginia, and I'm having breakfast. And I really sketched this and wanted this to be as accurate as possible. So I get back on the I-81 going south, and here's a big sign that says traffic congestion ahead between exit so-and-so and exit so-and-so. Okay, well, I'm going to fix that one. I'm going to go off in Route 1 and just go parallel and bypass whatever this was. And I kept thinking it was a road construction from the year before. That's what was going on there. And many times they just never seem to end there. So I do that. I get off, and I drive to the next exit, next exit, next exit. So I get back on. Unfortunately, I made a mistake. Got the wrong exit. I'm now back into traffic. So and 1 hour later, I get to the scene. And it's almost an identical scene. There's a truck in the middle. You can't see it here, but off to the left is a crumbled up car. It's not kind of covered over with the tarp. And I had to get on the right-hand side and pass very slowly, go past this crash to get here. So this is the setup. How it looked. A crash, and it turned out to be true. On a trip back, I went to the municipal office and I got a copy of the paper. One more, Christopher's dream. I think this started way back when I attended a workshop with Robin Bosnick in my dreams at the Omega Institute. He had a book there which I didn't read or get into at the time. I didn't buy it. I had other books of his. So I come back to Washington, D.C., and a couple of us later, I'm in a bookstore, and here's his book. Now it's called Christopher's Dream. At that time, it was called Dreams of an AIDS Patient. and I had no real interest in AIDS or what AIDS patients were dreaming about. So I got into the book anyway, a couple of months after I bought it. I was there on the desk, I picked it up and started reading it. I got halfway through the book, and there was only one picture in the entire book, only one sketch made by Christopher, called The Spectre of Death. And it was a horrible picture, a drawing of what looks like an evil, no kind of monstrous features about it. And this is not the kind of image I want to go to sleep on. I put the book down. I said, that's it. I'm not going to read this book anymore. I don't need to know about this kind of dream. But fortunately, I read enough to understand how Bosnick and Christopher worked with it and how they interpreted the image in it. And I got to the point I could accept the fact that this really wasn't all that horrible. When you look at it from the point of view of Christopher's cultural background, it made a lot of sense. It was full of symbolism, and some very spiritual. So, anyway, I had that in my mind. So at 7 o'clock that morning, the phone rings. And this is a Saturday morning, so I had time to take the phone. I called. Someone whom I never met, a stranger from a city 500 miles away, called to talk to me for help on a dream that his partner was having, who was dying of AIDS. So the dream that he related on the phone that Saturday morning was almost identical to Christopher's dream. So here I am, armed with the insight from Bosnick and Christopher himself. So an hour and a half or 2 hours later, here I am, still on the phone with him. But apparently it was a very therapeutic experience for the caller and for the partner. So it was, how did this happen? You know, never met. He was just motivated to pick a book which had just come out. I had a book that laying around for months, and that night and that morning, everything comes together. Synchronicity. So, why are these significant? For science, wow, I think it's immensely significant that more scientists really take a serious look at the entire phenomenon, not just precognition. Some are, and I see changes going on in the community, in the labs around the country. There are more and more people willing to look at the phenomenon, but it's still very slow, and there's still a lot of negativity on the topic. And you don't find parapsychology or psi phenomena discussed in scientific American, for example, unlike it was 50 years ago. Religion, of course. Where's religion? I attended a talk last 2 weeks ago. One of the papers was why parapsychology can save religion. Interesting topic. It was a theme after J.B. Ryan's talk back in the 50s and 60s, where it's showing that the phenomena being studied in the parapsychology laboratory actually parallels, and of course those things that everybody experiences are right there in religious literature, no matter which religion you look at or what the sources, whether it be the Christian or the Buddha or the Hindu. There you have it. We just have different labels and different names for them. But for me, when I do my workshops and relate to people, what I'm really saying is it's significant to the individual. You forget about the science, religion, but wouldn't you want to have a heads up if something nasty was coming your way, to be better prepared, to avoid, and maybe even to prevent the situation that presented to you in a hunch, intuition, waking person, a viewing session, or dream? And also, even if it's not, then there is a fallback, there's a default position called synchronicity. So you don't remember the dream, but now you have a synchronicity that brings that within range. In airplanes, you look at the monitors of the airplane within range. So synchronicities, and if they're in range, they may happen, and at least expected. So what is the future? Well, that's the question I started earlier. Well, here's where I am. I really got far. It's a complex mix of possibilities. We know some of it. We actually can. We may not fully understand it, but we can perceive the future. And the odd thing is, and I shouldn't say odd, but some seem absolutely fixed. We can't change it. If you want to happen, and some are hopefully potentially adjustable. Now, there are degrees of flexibility in here. Not everybody will agree with this. Some seem more fixed than you might imagine, but seem to be flexible. There seem to be a probability involved. The only time I was really able to intervene in the precognitive dream, as I learned out later, was a precognitive dream. It occurred, it was a horrible dream when I saw the car that my wife drives blow up in flames. And boom, fire. That was her car, but totally consumed in fire. Now, since I work with dreams in general, I also look at it from the psychoanalytical point of view, through the Association for the Study of Dreams and my therapist friends. The first thing you do is say, okay, am I having anger? You know, fire is a symbol of anger. But no, there's nothing like that in my dream. They're good relationship. And then and now. But no, it's not a personal dream. This is too powerful. Precognitive dreams are moving. Boom, boom, boom. Right to the point. Fast. Very little else in there. They really stand out, and that's what this one is. Really not drawn out. Over in seconds. So the next day I go out, look at the car, I heard drive. I don't even drive that car very often. I can't find anything wrong with it. Don't smell any gas. Nothing. Look under the hood, look all over, nothing. Well, okay, I didn't do anything about it. Okay, but the next day, really, now my intuition kicks in. Said, you gotta do something about that car. Okay, so I took it to a mechanic for a routine checkup. I said, okay, it's time for an oil change. I need to just check it out. So I had to call the office the next day, and he says, it's a good thing you brought that in. He said, you were driving a time bomb. What do you mean? I said, your fuel pump is in the gas tank, and the wires have shorted out and all charged. All you had you let the fuel level drop below in a certain level to get to the fuel, to get to air, fuel-air ratio, they would have blown up. So fortunately, I've been keeping the gas at high levels and never gone down. So they denied warning this potential accident. Okay, so what is the future? Projection from individual consciousness, mind sources, a signal, a memory, recognition, synchronicity, all these. And maybe in the future, there will be a new future, more of an integrated perspective. I think a holographic concept is coming more and more into play. We're more understand about hologram, those related. Maybe the collective subconscious, we only use that term, but it's really more of a holographic structure of the universe with different probabilities that come into play. In the future, I think it'll be easier for people to really relate to this because we already live in an environment of instant information. People are used to this interactive kind of activity. And I think there will be more intuitive people coming into the foreground. The room to be open about it. Precognitive teams maybe develop and try to set up some in my area. And not giving up on this, I think there will be a new scientific paradigm. Time travel, in my view, exists as an aspect of the subconscious. Maybe not physical time, maybe that's delayed. So experiencing the future, it's a natural subconscious feature. Somehow we either extend beyond space-time or it reacts back, interacts back with us. And it suggests to me that we all have some kind of cosmic connection, whether we call it the cosmic program or something else. Somehow we're connected in different layers of perception. And I want to end with this one. It reminds me that we need to really think about our concepts. Maybe time isn't as fixed as we like to think it is. So I see a lot in cellular balance pain. It's a reminder, we live in a world of concepts. How curves and average are concepts. Even that little sea creature embodied is kind of a hint about evolution. And there's really more to it than just simply the survival of the fittest, but something changing.
Time for discussion, questions, answers.
Time, the kindness of information should do something. So that in itself is a worthwhile goal, just accumulate data. But at a local level, and this is why I'm interested in local groups. Okay, I may not have been able to do anything about the 9/11 impressions that my friends and I had. But if there's something coming up locally, maybe I can. So focus on the local area. Now, there are a number of people in New York City that did act. but they didn't know why they were not going to the World Trade Center. So there are ways in which we can begin working with information, even if it's only getting people's attention. And then there'll be certain areas, somebody who lives in Trenton, New Jersey, might have a disturbing dream about a fire on a barge in the Delaware River that's going to be bumping into here. Okay, well then that's Trenton. It's okay. Then other people may come into it with the same kind of impression. So you can accumulate the data and say, okay, somebody better be on the lookout for a fire on a bridge, on a ship that's coming down the river. So that's kind of the way I would see it working. A long way away though, but at an individual level, I know it can work. So when I covered the case, I decided it was the fire on the large car.
Now, would that be within like the DIA or the DOD, with the defense perspective, defense intelligence agencies, or would that be more for national security? You're picking
Well,
up.
I'm talking about in general for everything. You know, I no longer dealing with the government. That's a long time ago. That's in my past. I don't think about it anymore. This is in the future for different groups and different people.
Yeah, along those lines, there was actually a study done many years ago looking at the number of cancellations that occurred associated with the tragic accidents, whether it was plane crashes or train, I think it was. And they did find that the number of last-minute cancellations far exceeded what would be expected by chance and what one ordinarily saw. But these cancellations typically are not associated with any waking awareness. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling. I actually have a personal friend who had been in Boston on the 9/11, who was actually scheduled to be on one of the flights that came out of there. And he said, the night before he just didn't feel very well. And he decided he was just going to see if he could get an earlier plane instead of the one he was scheduled on, which of course was a wonderful thing. But this was not something that he saw a plane crashing. And I think very often these intuitions are not at a conscious level. They're just a sense that something doesn't feel right. So, where that goes in the brain, if we're going to talk about brains, I'm not fond of talking about this in terms of brains, but that's my prejudice. But in any event, I just wanted to mention that these things do happen. They happen more frequently than they should, and they're not things that one is consciously aware of most of the time.
So that's why that's really relying on intuition and synchronicity. You may look at it like it was a default position, but it's still a valuable.
Hi, a moment ago you asked this person to go back and get more information.
Yeah.
So my question has to do with where is this information coming from? And let me go a little further. I'm a medium, so I channel spirits and I get pretty good information from that. Is that part of your model? Or the remote view, when we get good information about remote viewing, why are you getting it?
Good question. I don't know. There's the intention to perceive the information. That's an intention. We don't really question too much where is it. People have concepts, the matrix, the conscious record, but these are just concepts of where information that we can't understand can be stored in the cosmos, the way we think about it.
But my idea on this is to ask someone who knows. I don't know if I turned this on.
Yeah.
So ask, if you want information, ask someone who knows the answer, which to me is some consciousness who's in contact with the data.
That's correct. Okay, okay. Another way of looking at it is the information I've been talking about is ourselves. We are meeting our own future when we get the answer back. So maybe many precognitions are more like that. I'm the one who's supplying myself the answer from the future when I'm getting there.
But as a scientist, how do we prove that? Because we don't really know. I believe we can't prove where the information comes from.
No, we can't prove it. That was one of my big questions in the beginning and still is. We don't know exactly where that information is. We can say it looks like this, or it could be that, or it could be somebody's thought. Now, one thing I didn't really develop too much here is, at what point does someone's intention leak over and you pick up the future intention? Now, that's another area I've studied, and I have looked at that to some degree, and I know the work here, and I know the work with the random event generator really does look at the intention and how it can influence an object or a device, but it can also influence ourselves. I have seen instances where people intended to call, and the person sensed that that person was going to call. And so, which came first? The future, when you learn about it, or the intention of the individual when he or she said, I'm going to call that person tomorrow. So there's an interplay between intention and the future, but I haven't really been able to strip out yet, because my focus has more or less been on newspapers, photos, where in principle nobody knows what it is that we know. But somehow the information is there, engraved, if you will, in sea of probabilities, and some cosmic hologram. You know, I use words like that because coming from a science background, it kind of makes me feel a little comfortable, but otherwise I don't know what the information is. But some of the information that we come up with is really quite minor and quite trivial, you know. So they're still there, it's still part of that future that we then experience later on when we get there.
Just once again, what's your view on spirituality?
Well, I didn't get into that too much here, but there's no question there is an overlap into what we call the spiritual domain, or levels of spiritual experiences. I touched on it a little bit with that picture of the tunnel, and also all of a sudden open up the door here and here. It's just something I'm really not ready to deal with. So yes, there really is an existence. Call it a domain, a spiritual level, whatever it is. That exists too. Now, how that overlaps with the information that we're dealing with when we do precognitive with the needs or some other event that relates to this earth, maybe, I don't know for sure. But there's got to be a larger spectrum. This is why I use the term cosmic consciousness toward the end, because that sort of encompasses a lot of this. Whether you want to call it multi-dimensions or other universes or whatever it is that overlap. You know, we haven't even gotten into the other topic of UFOs here, but that's another one. Are they real, or where do they come from? Yeah. So is there a multi-dimensional plane that allows that kind of experience to occur? You know, many of my colleagues in the dream world would say, well, it's symbolic. They go back to what Jung talks about. But I haven't heard enough accounts to say that maybe not all of that is symbolic. So you have to draw a line somewhere between what is symbolic and what is real. And what is real? You get some interesting target pictures and you have no idea what this means, but yet it reveals something very important about the concept. Again, I'm more concerned about how does, whatever that information is, whatever it is, how does it actually get into my mind and how am I perceive it, whether it be a hunch situation in a dream or sitting down doing a remote viewing session. It gets there, but in principle, it may be there all the time. And we just happen to find a frequency shift that then allows all the trillions of pieces of information only to correct one thing true. You know, that's kind of mind-boggling in itself. And I think philosophers have talked about that too. That reality we shift, we filter out most of the stuff. It's good to hear. Yes.
Dale, there was a recent book called Time Warps by Eric Wargo. You know, if you know that book, he gave a talk at SSE.
Yeah.
I know you heard his talk.
Yes, I did.
His thesis, it's a very straightforward thesis about precognition, is that all precognition is your information you get from your future self when your future self learns the information that it will learn in the future. So, for example, if you're seeing a picture, if you're drawing a picture of an image, where you're getting the information from is the fact that 3 days, 5 days later, or whatever, you will see that picture, and you're feeding it back to yourself in the past. Now he tries to say that all precognition is that, it seems a little extreme to me, but it seems like there's also a way to test that by, not allowing yourself to get feedback. Doing an image and then you never see the feedback, but the judges judge whether or not you got it. Have you tried to do anything?
Oh, yes. It's been a concern of mine, and I'm aware of that book. I have it. And I had a bit of an argument with him at the conference. Yeah, maybe that it looks like it's an account for all precognition, but it doesn't really. Now, I'm aware of work that the individual never got feedback. There was some work done recently with a group in Germany, and they really quite substantial work. And there were two groups. The group that got feedback on the protocol, like I mentioned earlier, the binary type, and a group that got feedback. And they didn't seem to find any difference between the feedback and the no feedback group. And Russell Hardy years ago did an experiment with no feedback back in the old SRI days, and found that they still could do that. Didn't need the feedback. So now the question is, okay, if you're not getting conscious feedback, like you're being shown the picture, are you getting it subconsciously? So where does the loop end? Yeah. Where are you
When
ending?
you argued with him, is that what he tried to say?
But the reason I'm very interested in that, because it's caused me, because I've been thinking about this for some time, not just because of what Eric presented at that presentation, but when I read Dunn's book on Experiments in Time, that occurred to me too, that this is feedback that he's getting, and so he should make that comment too. But now I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. I'll have to come back to it. I lost my train of thought.
Thank you.
Yeah. Talk to fast. Okay.
Hi, Dan. I have two questions. First question is, I noticed in your presentation here and elsewhere that you're usually going forward in time 3 to 7 days. Now, there are those of us who may think or posit the possibility that we live in a universe which has multiple outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the reason why you only go that far in advance, or is that not?
The reason we chose the 3, because we haven't done this before, and it was comfortable. We didn't have to wait too long. Because when you do this kind of project, you do get kind of impatience. And, I don't want to wait another 2 or 3 days. I want to know the answer now. So we got through that hurdle. So we're ready 7 days, and that was a little tough psychologically to wait 7 days to get feedback. So that was one of the reasons we kept it. It was easy to work with. And ultimately, there's always security that says, you wait long enough, things are going to happen like that anyway. So we wanted to stay with it. It was just a convenient way.
And it has nothing to do with multiple
No.
futures further
No,
out?
no.
Okay.
In fact, the other people are looking at that, and they want to go out in 2050 or 2060. So I still think if you go too far out, and maybe a little bit of quantum physics is still with me, a little bit, that this is the probability. So if it gets really far out, it just seems to get flooded and too many probabilities, and too many things are happening. The future is that fixed. So I would like to think it's not that fixed. That's just me thinking. So maybe some things are that fixed, and you can't get away from it. So that's why we did it that way with the short-term look. It's hard to do it on and stay with it and keep interest in it.
Yes.
It really is. You start dropping. In fact, it took the time to really get up to do this every day. But we did it.
Did you want to make mention of?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is thank you for reminding me. Risha and I will be doing a dream workshop in New York State, up in near Finger Lakes area.
Geneseo.
Yeah, we're in July. So if anybody is traveling to that area, you can get. Oh, okay. Okay, fine. What happens to the women? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm doing a workshop in upstate New York, or far west state New York, in July 17 and 18 on dreams, and working with dreams, including precognitive dreams. So you can contact me. I have email up in the top here if anybody's interested. Let me go back to that chart. Now I have to go all the way to back. Control. Hurry about there. Return. I think I got out of it. Sorry about that. Well, okay. Okay. I messed up. Okay. Somebody, try to pull up that first chart. So I will be having a weekend workshop with you and colleagues up in New York in July. So if anybody's interested in that. I also will be doing some locally. I haven't set anything up yet, but that will be forthcoming.
Local here?
Pennsylvania, which is local, depending where you are in Pennsylvania.
Local enough.
No, I include Philadelphia area in this corner of the world. Yes. So.
I checked your website, I didn't see much going on listed.
No, the past half year has really not been a very productive one for me in terms of workshops. Too much travel and doing other things and visitors. So I'll get that back in line. Is this the microphone here? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was a simple one. Yeah. Okay. I can't think of anything other. Oh yeah.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One question is about the sketches that you drew before the event. How many sketches did you draw about what you were intending to see? Did you only draw one sketch? Were there many sketches?
Oh, yeah, good question. Now, my colleagues that do the remote viewing would just basically draw one sketch or two, and maybe have dialogue. I tend to look at sketches more than dialogue. If there's the dream work people that I work with, again, there's a little bit of focusing going on here, where you say to yourself, that's something you want to say to yourself. Tonight, I desire to recall a dream about the target picture, okay, or objective. And I only want to remember the part that's important and at the end of the dream, one scene. So you intend to only have a flash at the end to get rid of all the other non-related material. So it's one scene. So you end up with one dream scene, and that's fresh in your mind because that's what you intended to do, to have it occur at the end of the dream cycle. And you wake up and sketch it out and write notes, and there you are. So it's a matter of intention. And not having long dreams. One of the issues I went into when I work with people for the first time with dreams, they'll write 5 or 10 pages on a dream, which is really wonderful, but it's not particularly helpful for what we're doing here. It might be great from a therapeutic point of view, and great if you're going to write a novel, but it's not necessarily good for this kind of work when you really want to keep it very brief and to the point. And this tracks the spontaneous cases, because most spontaneous experiences of precognition, particularly in dreams, is very brief and to the point. The individual, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, they'll say, well, it was really fast to the point of brief, just one scene, just one picture, boom, that was it. I knew it was important. So it's not just the emotional part that will pump it up, but even if it's non-emotional, you look at that attention. And some people actually have what I call attention icons. The TV comes on, they look at the TV, so it's the information on the TV that's relevant to the objective that they were working on. Or there's a figure that shows up in the dream. Some people might have a conflict figure. In a dream work community, because there's a lot of shamanistic interest there, in Native American work, individuals with dreams with some of my colleagues, they might even have a dream animal show up that's relevant to the symbol of precognition, whatever that might be for them, whatever that symbol is. And it's quite variable. It could be an animal, it could be an object. Or a TV screen coming on and you look at, wow, you're looking at this TV screen. And then you wake up and realize that was only a dream, that was not a real TV, yet it has real information that you find out later. So it's a symbol. Yeah.
Hi, Dale.
Yeah.
I have a question. In your opinion, what is the difference between a dream vision and remote viewing?
Well, Okay, we're coming into the perception from a different angle here. A dream, when you say dream vision, you're referring to the dream itself, not, yeah, okay, not awakening vision. An awakened vision? Oh.
Awakened vision and remote.
Okay, now, in the remote viewing program, we had to do a trick. Now, remote viewing had to go through very specific protocols in order to get past the Inspector General and the Human Use Review Committee. Okay? We really had to make sure, because years earlier, the CIA did some nasty things, so even the Department of Defense had to then upgrade what they called Human Use Review requirements. So, in order to do any kind of remote viewing activity whatsoever, we had to prove to all kinds of committees this is not going to be harmful to anybody. You know, this is the protocol. It's a relaxed state, that no chemicals and nothing like that involved. It's just a relaxed thing, much like you're daydreaming. Okay, we got to have proof. Okay. But some of the people on the project were very good at in-between states. In-between states. So then we didn't say don't do it, but we changed the terminology to extended remote viewing. So when the Human Use Review people looked at what we were doing, there was something that said extended remote viewing. Oh yeah, we're just extending the remote viewing, but it was really like a dreamlike state. So some of the people on the program actually did go into a light semi-trance, if you will, or a light sleep. And then at that stage, we had compression. I think one of our most prolific remote viewers, Joe Monaco, was quite open about that. This is how we get some of this material in this in-between state. Most of my remote viewing colleagues don't like to talk about dreams, but in my view, at one end of the spectrum, if I look at lucid dreaming, a lucid dream almost overlaps with what some of my colleagues call intense side interaction. It becomes very intense, and it's as if they already are there. So it's almost like a lucid dream. They don't want to call that. So there's an overlap. So I think I'm getting what I'm saying to you. There's an overlap. But there might be more to it than that. Dreams tend to draw in more memories, and there are more memory associations that might creep in. The remote viewing approach coming in may be less memory dependent. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's a little more neutral from the memory point of view. I don't know. I'm still looking at that. You know, it's still a question. There's a lot of research that can still be done. Yes. Yeah.
If I could butt in for a
Sure.
moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
As somebody who has done a lot of remote viewing perception and also have had a lot of precognitive dreams, there's no difference.
Okay.
The experience is the same. Maybe it's a question of the amount of detail you can recall, and you tend to do a little better with the dreaming because in the remote perception, your cognitive mind gets in the way a lot.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good. Fine. I said it kind of like it. I've never seen that kind of stuff, but I didn't really look at it from that point of view. So thank you. So either way. Now, lucid dreaming is a little different, but still, really some interesting results there.
I have a
Very
question.
accurate data.
I have a question. It's more of I guess a thought about this remote viewing that you can do in the future.
Yeah.
The remote viewing is also used to be able to find a target in the past. So it's this quandary about time being very fluid.
Yeah.
And there was something that you said about future events. Some can be fixed and some have the probability of change. So I'm very curious from my end how much creativity and intention can change something in the future or even in the past. So is there any work that's been done that shows what events are fixed, what might be some kind of preordained thing, and how much we as humans have the potential to creatively change the future and potentially the past?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't done a lot of that myself. Yeah. Turn off. Oh, here we are. It's an area, we talk about healers and how they interact with the clients. Their intention is for the person to get well. So there's something is happening that seems to relate to the future outcome that they can influence. And of course, the work that you're familiar with your devices, the intention effect. So you're intending that, and the Global Consciousness Project suggests that there's an intention somehow that's coming in the other way. But that we can actually influence these devices in the future. So yes, I think it's possible. What determines the degree of influence, I don't know. But I think a lot of the subconscious, I keep thinking of the staring experiments, and these are the experiments we've done at the Stanford Research Institute and other places, where an individual would be looked at through a remote monitor, and through a random protocol, are they going to be intending for that person to feel threatened or to feel peaceful? And there's a correlation between the response to that intention. There's also a series of experiments where, because we can influence which picture will be coming up in the future. So there is that possibility that we can influence that. Control the switch, or something like that. But I haven't really looked too hard at the 2K aspect of it. But that almost sounds like you're bypassing. It almost like we can perceive the intent, but we still have something filtering. Do we want to do anything about it or not? But it's still that the impression. We get the impression that somebody's intending for us to do something, but that doesn't mean that we will. But we register the intent somehow through the way our physiology responds, or through some other meaning. Yeah.
Why don't you speak from here, because we're getting film of the
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I have a good question here.
Yeah.
I'm Olivier, by the way.
Yeah.
The kids call me Oli. And I was wondering if any studies been made about having people having some sort of illness, and from this illness would come out much more clairvoyance, and certain illness in your mind, body, or spirit.
Okay.
Does any study have been made on that? Because I had meningitis at the age of 20, and I really believe that's something that happened. And so I was wondering if there's different part of your body or relationship that you have with certain part of your body that cause your ability to read the future.
Yeah, I really didn't catch the whole question.
Okay, so basically I had a meningitis when I was 20, and I came out much more clairvoyant after this meningitis than before.
Sure. Okay. Yes, injuries have, in fact, affected people's sensitivities. To see that in the near-death experiences, particularly if it was an accident. I think some people, someone that a long time ago worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency where I worked. I was on the phone, and the lightning came through. He was knocking unconscious for a long time in a coma. Daniel Brinkley, you might come across his name. And so after that shock, he was very clairvoyant, very psychic. I guess beating on the head helps. Peter Yukos, the well-known deck psychic, fell off a ladder on his head, unconscious for about a week. When he came out, he was telling the nurses what was on their minds. So there's something that does affect the physiology that can be physically handled. So, I don't think it's a good protocol to go through. But, beat yourself against the wall.
So the first comment was meningitis is pretty much what woke me up to clairvoyance. Period.
Really?
Yeah. So no experience.
So I had the viral one, not the...
I had viral as well. So it's neuroplasticity. Once the brain, plus the other thing, I was in a lot of pain. I didn't know what I had. I thought I had the flu. So I curled up into a ball and meditated into myself in different places and dimensions and things like that. And question. Okay, as a remote viewer, I work projects where I've never gotten feedback. I've never seen my feedback. My task force told me it was correct. So obviously we're able to do it without getting feedback. I've worked future projects that are very far in the future, and I've gone more than 8 months with accuracy. So Dale gets upset with some of these lengths because he goes, well, what is that? How does that affect our free will state, right? We've had that discussion, and that gets a little scary.
Yeah, it is struggling. Yeah, yeah. But, you know, some meditative practices, I think, you know, they may not create the intensity, but people do describe phenomena, particularly for those that have had what's called a Kundalini experience. That can be very energetic and powerful and can stimulate the kind of thing you're talking about, Mike. So something's happening inside the brain that helps create new pathways. So you don't really need to come into this from that kind of trauma. Meditation, the Kundalini process, can also invoke this kind of experience that leads to psi perception, as well as other sensitivities too, not just that. Yeah, so yeah, there are ways, other than just simply intended. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, regarding the information that you get, is that information something that is out there that is objective, or is it more something that is in the collective subjective? That means, for example, you've been going forward into the future, but if somebody wanted to go into the past, to let's say, I don't know, who really killed, X, person?
Mm-hmm.
Would that person find really, the person that did it, or would that person get the information of who everybody thinks that did it?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it reminds me of, you ever read the book The Heart Code? Examples of people that have had heart transplants. And there's one case where the heart transplant patient all of a sudden remembered scenes of a murderer, and it turned out to be the person that murdered the individual whose heart she had. So somehow, where was that memory? Was it in the heart? Was it somewhere else? Was it tuned into it? So it was pretty accurate. But again, at what point do we say we're getting the information from our future when we learn of it? So even though the presentation we both sat in on was Eric, I certainly didn't go on with a lot of that, but not all of it. There is information that is still not, that we still get, which is not within our path, it's not our feedback, it's from somewhere else. Even though we may actually learn of it and say, yeah, now we know what it is, but there's some intention somewhere. I think your book, The Intention, in fact, covers that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, so I'm curious, do you have any instructions or directions that someone can use to elicit a precognitive dream? And let me just mention before your answer, is the first time I went to Atlantic City, I didn't know anything about gambling. So I asked for a dream, I asked for information, which I got as a lucid dream. I woke up right after it, wrote everything down, and let's just say it was a profitable day. So, but can you instruct someone about how to ask for such a dream?
Yeah, yes, I do have protocols and recommended procedures that help pull things together. Strip out the noise and focus on just what the objective is and certain ways of repeating the intent. It's still kind of straightforward learning process, but the key is intending and practicing. But you really jumped into it real well from the very beginning. But no, I do have processes that I go through that's helpful for people. So, yeah, but I'm not saying any one particular procedure is it. Just like in the viewing, you run into all kinds of viewpoints on the what is a good viewing program or training session. They all have merits, but they're not all absolutes either. So, and sometimes I think we put too much focus on the method and not the whole phenomenon. That there's really an intention behind it that really gets us where we want to hopefully be. So I have that material written out in my workbooks and that. So.
Any book that you published?
Yes, they're out of print right now. The first 2 books I published are out of print, and I do have a process in the back of that book that goes through that. Pretty much what I use even today. That was called Tracks in the Psychic Wilderness, published in the year 2000. It's out of print right now, although I think you can still find some floating around in Amazon. So I do have those. Yeah, I do have that in that book. But if you'd like, give me your email and I'll send you
That'd be great, thank you.
the references I have. I mean, the notes I have and what I hand out to people in my workshop. I'm happy to do that. And along that line, remember, I was talking about a workshop like in New York. So did my email come up? Yeah, there it is. So if you want to contact me on that, or Marissa is here, yeah, you can see her as well. She's in the contact point for
I
that.
would take down anybody's email who wants to be sent
Okay,
something about the
that's great.
GCO weekend, how to take your email.
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you. Yeah. So, okay.
If there aren't any more questions or comments, I want to thank Dale for a very informative and thought-provoking afternoon. Now, we were hoping to have Roland McCready here next month. Roland is the director of the Heart Math Institute. But unfortunately, let me get over here so you can see. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it. He said he will be coming this spring. And so we've decided that our next guest speaker on November, it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving week, and I cannot remember the date. Does anybody have a calendar?
The
23rd, I think. Anyway, the speaker or speakers at that next meeting are you. We thought, you're so kind, you come and you listen and you ask questions, but all of you I know are into some really interesting stuff. You're doing some fascinating work and you have some important ideas. And so what I'd like to suggest that if you'd like to have an opportunity to give a short, maybe 15-minute, depending on how many of you respond, discussion about what you're interested in and what you're doing, get in touch with me and we'll try to schedule a day where we can listen to you instead of you listening to us. I think that would be fun. Those of you who I know reasonably well, I know have some really interesting stuff going on, and I think everybody else would like to hear about it. Let me also mention that, and we will have some speakers, that will be it for this fall, and we'll be scheduling another 3 meetups in the spring, and I think we've got a couple of fascinating speakers lined up. But for today, I will mention that, as usual, we've brought a bunch of our ICRL press books that are out on the table. I invite you to look at them. There are a couple of brochures, catalogs.
Except credit card.
And we take credit cards. If you would like to, and if for any reason the book you want is no longer out there, let us know what book you want. Give Carrie your address and the title of the book you want, and we'll send it out to you at the beginning of next week. So I want to just invite you all to help yourself to some of the snacks. We have another half hour or so before we have to get out of here. So take advantage of it, get to know the folks who are here, talk to each other, and just enjoy yourself. And thank you again for giving up a lovely Saturday to join us.
Hi, my name is Trina Bardusco, and what I like about the talk is just kind of to validate some of the things that have happened in my own life. For example, one of my best friends, we were roommates, and she woke up one morning and she said to me, Trina, I just saw these two buildings crumble and fall in front of me. And we were living in New York City, and she's from Venezuela, and she was on her way. And I said to her, please be safe in Venezuela. You know, I thought there was something going down there because it's a very precarious situation down even then. And it was the day before 9/11. So that always stuck with me, and other things where I would dream of my friends and then I'd have to call them and see how they were. So what I find interesting is that this is somehow validated, and there's a study about it, and that in fact it could be the beginnings of measuring these type of things, and always looking for the connection also with spirituality, and just grateful that there's science now to speak to these fascinating and somewhat puzzling phenomena. So yes, I enjoyed it very much, and he's great to have him, Mr. Dale. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Leslie Nolan, and what I found interesting today was this concept of being able to project a future event in this way of seeing. And I understand this way of seeing, you can also see into the past. So as Dale was discussing that things in the future can be both be a set event that's set in time that absolutely happens, but there's also potential that things in the future could also have a probability and can possibly be changed. My thought was about intention and creativity, and how much of that can possibly change a future event as well as the past. So that's what I found fascinating today. It's all about creativity, intentional creativity. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori, and I had a question about manifestation. What I wondered was, if instead of seeing what would happen, you were manifesting what would happen, and if that's true, how much responsibility do we have in the future that we create? That was my question. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Farusha, and I come here fairly regularly. I was very happy to be here for Dale's presentation because I know Dale from the SSE and the IRVA as well, and he's just a wonderful interpreter of the dream precognitive state and the whole idea of how one can use dreams, and I'm really pleased to be here today.
Hello, I'm Olivier Balavoine, and I had a great time today. It was a great presentation, and I think I was willing to come here for the past 3 years. And if you don't know what to do on a Saturday afternoon, every month or so, come to Greenway Meadow, and we are experiencing very welcoming community of like-minded people that think about what is the future and where information comes from, and what are we doing with it. And the Pear Lab did an incredible job, and now the ECDL, wait a minute.
ICRL?
ICRL, that's it. ICRL is waiting for you. They have a meetup page on meetup.com, and then they have incredible books and to help you to grow your understanding of consciousness and subconsciousness and paranormal situation. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Mike Myers. Just had a great day here at ICRL Meetup. This is a place where people come and talk about the latest kind of science developments that a lot of times are taboo to the general science community. And we're like-minded and have an inside step. The speaker today was Dale Graff, who was a former Stargate remote viewing program tasker. I am a remote viewer, and if you don't know what that is, feel welcome to look at the Stargate program and look at what remote viewing is. It defies what we know in material science as it's a new type of, not a new, it's something that's going on forever, where we have a basic way of perceiving non-local information, and many people experience this, don't know what it is. But anyway, great talk. He's a physicist, talked about the experience, the documented, all of the documented evidence regarding this, meeting with other people who are in the scientific field with real scientific credentials that know this is real. They're not willing to sweep the evidence under the rug, and it's refreshing to me because I know it's going on, and I know our current paradigm scientifically doesn't meet the standards, so they keep erasing the evidence, and we gotta look at the evidence. Thanks. Come out to the next one.